A snow-white bird freezes in the spotlight, perched on a branch like a living warning sign. Not a dove, not a gull, a creature so rare. Some people spend their whole lives in Indonesia and never see it once. It blinks, slow, almost like it's checking if you're worthy. Indonesia does that. It hides impossible beauty in places you can barely point to on a map. Volcano jungles, forgotten islands, forests that feel older than language. And inside all that wild, 17 birds so strange, so unreal, they look like nature glitching on purpose. This isn't a classroom. This is a chase through one of the most dangerous, most breathtaking ecosystems on Earth. Wing beats like gunshots, colors that shouldn't exist, creatures that dance, leap, scream, vanish, all before you can catch your breath. But here's the question you'll want to hold on to. One bird on this list was thought to be extinct for decades, until a single shadow in the understory proved everyone wrong. Do you think you can spot it before we reveal it? Stay with me, because that pale ghost staring you down is just the beginning. Now, step into the Bali light and meet the first legend. You ever look at a bird so white, so perfectly clean, you start wondering how it stays that way in a jungle full of mud, rain, and things that definitely want to eat it? The Bali starling isn't just white, it's blinding. It steps into the sunlight and suddenly every other bird looks underdressed. And here's the twist that always gets people. This glowing snowball is one of the rarest birds in all of Indonesia, yet it behaves like it owns the whole island. Most rare animals hide, not this one. The Bali starling perches right out in the open, tilts its head, and stares at you like it's evaluating your life choices. Bright blue skin around the eyes, a crest that looks freshly styled, feathers so clean you'd swear it has a personal spa. And the voice? Soft, curious, almost flirtatious. It doesn't scream danger, it whispers mystery. But here's where your brain starts asking questions. How does a bird this obvious survive in a world full of predators? How does the rarest creature on the island stay alive while looking like a walking flashbang grenade? The answer is part luck, part human effort, and part pure star power confidence. For years, this bird was nearly erased by poachers and the illegal pet trade. It got so bad that wild numbers dropped to single digits. Literally, you could count the survivors on your hands. Then came the fight back. Rangers, breeders, entire villages joined forces. Protection programs, soft releases, nest boxes, patrols. The whole island treated this bird like a celebrity that needed a comeback tour. And somehow, it worked. Today, spotting one in the wild still feels like winning a lottery you didn't even buy a ticket for. But at least the species is no longer standing on the edge of a cliff. Here's a fun twist people never expect. Despite being dangerously rare, Bali starlings are outrageously social. They chatter, argue, flirt, and complain like feathered comedians. And when they fly, the sunlight hits them in a way that makes you doubt your own eyes. It's not pretty, it's unreal. So tell me, if a bird this rare refuses to hide, does that make it brave? Or just beautifully stubborn? Drop your verdict in the comments and get ready, because the next Indonesian legend doesn't glow like snow. It rises from the hot earth with a story even stranger. If I told you there's a bird in Indonesia that lays an egg bigger than its own head, you'd probably think I'm exaggerating. But the maleo doesn't care about your expectations. It drops an egg so massive it makes chickens look like amateurs. And here's the wild part. It doesn't even bother sitting on it. Nope. The maleo is the only bird in this jungle that uses the earth itself as an incubator. Picture this: a volcanic beach, hot sand shimmering, and a blackened salmon bird marching across it like it's on a mission from another timeline. The maleo digs deep pits, sometimes almost a meter down, because it needs the perfect temperature. Too hot, the egg cooks. Too cold, nothing hatches. It's like Goldilocks, but with lava. Now here's where your brain starts firing questions. If the parents don't stay with the egg, who protects it? Who keeps predators away? Who makes sure the temperature stays just right? The answer is brutally honest: nobody. The maleo buries its eggs and walks away. Total trust in nature, or total chaos. Your pick, but the twist? The chicks hatch fully feathered and ready to run. They crawl out of the sand, shake off a childhood they never had, and immediately know how to fly. No training, no parenting. Just welcome to the world, kid. Good luck. It's the most hardcore baby bird in the tropics. And yes, people debate this all the time. Is the maleo a genius of evolutionary shortcuts, or the world's most negligent parent? I'll let you argue that one in the comments. Of course, this strategy comes at a cost. Monitor lizards stalk the nesting grounds. Wild pigs dig up eggs like treasure hunters. Even humans once raided these beaches for the giant eggs. The maleo has been pushed dangerously close to extinction, more times than we'd like to admit. But conservationists and local communities stepped in, protecting beaches, relocating eggs, giving this hot sand gambler a fighting chance. And when you finally see one in the wild, tall crest raised, chest glowing pink in the heat haze, you realize you're looking at a survivor, a bird that outsources incubation to volcanoes and somehow makes it work. So tell me, is the maleo the cleverest bird in Indonesia or the boldest risk taker? Think about it, because the next creature doesn't gamble with heat. It hides in shadows where almost no human has ever seen it. You know a bird is serious business when scientists spend decades looking for it, and it still refuses to show its face. The Sumatran ground cuckoo isn't rare because it's dying out. It's rare because it's basically a jungle ghost, a bird that prefers to exist in rumors, echoes, and the shaky confidence of biologists who swear they heard something. This thing moves through the rainforest floor like a shadow with legs. Imagine hiking through Sumatra's thickest jungle. Air heavy, leaves dripping, every step sinking into moss. And suddenly you hear a low booming call that feels more like a subwoofer than a bird. You freeze, your brain says, "No way!" Your ears say, "Run!" And somewhere out there, a ground cuckoo is staring right at you, perfectly still, perfectly silent, thinking, "You don't see me, right?" And it's correct, you don't. This bird almost became myth. For years, people thought it was extinct. Then a camera trap caught one walking across the forest floor like a dinosaur doing a casual grocery run. That footage broke the internet, or at least the tiny corner of the internet where bird nerds live. Suddenly, the ghost was real again. Here's a twist that always sparks debate. Despite being nearly invisible, the ground cuckoo is loud. Its call carries deep and far, like a drum echoing through a cave. Why announce yourself so boldly if you don't want to be found? Maybe it's communication, maybe it's territorial, or maybe this bird just enjoys trolling humans. What do you think? Genius, stealth master, or dramatic introvert? Behavior-wise, it does everything differently, and it doesn't fly much. It prefers running, fast, low, weaving through roots like a feathered velociraptor. It hunts insects, frogs, maybe the occasional unlucky lizard. Its legs are strong, its tail long for balance, and its movements are strangely elegant for something that refuses to be filmed. And yet this creature is in danger. Habitat loss is eating away the forests it depends on. Every year, the ghost's territory shrinks. Conservationists are racing time, trying to protect something they can barely observe. If you ever spot one, congratulations. You just saw a miracle wearing feathers. But here's the real question. If a bird can outsmart humans for decades, what else is hiding in Indonesia's jungle that we haven't even imagined yet? Hold that thought, because the next species doesn't hide in shadow. It steps into the light with confidence and a crest full of attitude. If there's one bird in Indonesia that looks cute enough to trust, but absolutely shouldn't, it's the Tanimbar corella. This little white cockatoo shows up with big round eyes, a soft blush of salmon on its face, and an expression that basically says, "Hi, I'm innocent." And you believe it, right up until the moment it steals your button, dismantles your camera, or unlocks a cage it wasn't supposed to escape from. Yeah, this bird is dangerously smart. The corella lives on the Tanimbar Islands, a place where the forests explode with sound, color, and chaos. Yet in all that noise, this cockatoo always manages to stand out. It hangs upside down from branches just because it can, screams its opinion at anything that moves, and somehow still looks adorable while doing it. If gremlins had wings, this is what they'd look like. Now here's where your brain starts whispering questions. How does something so cute survive in the wild? Surely predators notice a loud white bird, but the corella isn't prey. It's a strategist. It travels in flocks that move like a cloud of chaos, confusing predators. And when danger hits, they shout warnings to each other that sound almost like human yelling, which raises the question, are they mimicking us? Or are we the ones who sound like cockatoos when panicking? And here comes the mini twist. These birds aren't just troublemakers, they're puzzle masters. Scientists have tested them with complex locks, multi-step tasks, even tools. The corella solves them like it's doing warm-ups. One even learned how to dismantle a 5-part mechanical puzzle faster than a college student can open a bag of chips. Debate time. Does that make them geniuses or tiny feathered hackers? Of course, mischief has its consequences. Their curiosity leads them straight into human spaces. Farms, villages, rooftops. Some people see them as pests, others as comedians. But honestly, if you leave anything unattended near a corella, you kind of deserve what happens next. Still, there's something deeply charming about them. They mate for life, raise chicks together, and spend hours grooming each other like tiny feathered romantics before immediately going back to causing trouble. So tell me, is the Tanimbar corella Indonesia's cutest criminal or its smartest survivor? Think on it, because the next bird doesn't break locks. It breaks expectations, emerging from the forest floor like a fossil come alive. There's loud, there's obnoxious, and then there's the sulfur-crested cockatoo, a bird that doesn't just arrive in the Indonesian treetops, it declares its presence like a rock star kicking open the stage door. You hear it before you see it. A scream that slices through the forest air, equal parts, look at me, and I dare you to ignore this. And when it finally lands, boom! A shock of white feathers and a neon yellow crest exploding upward like someone hit a switch. Here's the paradox that hooks people. How does a bird this noisy survive in the wild? Shouldn't predators hear it from 3 islands away? Yet the cockatoo thrives. And not just survives, thrives. It's the kind of animal that convinces you volume is a survival strategy. Once you spend time watching them, the questions start forming in your head. Do they scream because they're warning the flock? Or because they're bored? Are they communicating something meaningful? Or just complaining about breakfast? Bird experts can't decide, but locals will tell you straight. Cockatoos yell because silence is simply not part of their personality. Then comes the mini twist. These birds aren't just loud, they're ridiculously smart. They use tools, they pick locks, they open trash bins engineered to be cockatoo-proof. Whole neighborhoods in Australia once waged a design war against them, and lost. A cockatoo will watch a human open something once and replicate it like it's copying a TikTok trick. But here's where things get interesting for the debate crowd. Are they clever problem solvers or just professional troublemakers? People argue this one constantly. One thing's for sure, if you leave food out, they will find it, steal it, and then scream at you for good measure. In the wilds of eastern Indonesia, they travel in boisterous flocks, white streaks slicing across jungle canopies. They mate for life, preen each other tenderly, and then immediately shout at nothing in particular, as if the world needs commentary. They're chaotic, dramatic, beautiful, and somehow still elegant when the sunlight catches those crest feathers just right. So tell me, is the sulfur-crested cockatoo a feathered diva or a brilliant saboteur wrapped in white plumage? Think on that, because the next bird doesn't shout for attention, it glitters on the forest floor like a moving piece of rare jewelry. If rainforest birds are jewels, then the mangrove pitta is the one that fell into the mud and somehow came out looking even better. Seriously, this bird lives in mangroves. Muddy, tangled, mosquito-filled, boot-destroying mangroves. And yet it shows up dressed in colors so bright you'd think it accidentally walked out of a tropical fashion show. electric blue wings, warm chestnut back, a belly like polished gold, all wrapped onto a bird that prefers running through roots like a feathered ninja. Here's the twist your brain can't ignore. Why would something this colorful live in a place where everything else is brown, gray, or green? Wouldn't that make it easier for predators to spot? That question haunts anyone who sees a pitta for the first time. But the mangrove pitta doesn't hide. It blends by being bold. Light cuts strangely in the mangrove forest, and those sharp streaks of color actually break up the bird's outline. Nature, once again, flexing design tricks no human would ever guess. Spend 5 minutes watching one, and you'll start asking deeper questions. How does a bird with short wings and long legs survive in a world of shifting tides? Why does it hop instead of fly? Is it lazy or just practical? Locals say pittas walk like they're late to something, and honestly, that might be the best description ever. These birds dart across mudflats, pause, tilt their heads dramatically, then stab the ground for crabs and insects with surgical precision. And here comes the fun fact that always sparks debate. Pittas have one of the most surprising voices in the mangrove. A sharp, echoing wee-oh, wee-oh that sounds like someone testing a whistle in an empty hallway. Does it help them find each other, mark territory, or is it just an emotional outburst from a bird that stepped in mud again? You decide. Comment sections have been divided for years. Despite their bright feathers and loud calls, mangrove pittas are actually disappearing fast. Mangroves are vanishing. Development, shrimp farms, rising sea levels, all of it chips away their home. Every sighting feels like catching the last spark from a fire that shouldn't be going out. And yet, when you finally see one hop into a beam of sunlight, all gold and neon blue, you understand why people get obsessed. It's the kind of beauty that makes the mud worth it. So tell me, is the mangrove pitta an accidental masterpiece, or proof that the messiest places create the brightest surprises? Hold that thought, because the next bird doesn't just shine, it glows with patterns so unreal you'll question your own eyes. Some birds wear colors. The lesser Bornean banded pitta stages a full light show. If the mangrove pitta looked like a jewel fallen into mud, this one looks like it crawled straight out of a treasure chest guarded by dragons. Neon orange throat, sapphire blue wings, black mask like a tiny outlaw. And those bands, sharp, perfect, glowing, as if someone hand-painted them with molten gold. Now here's the part that messes with your head. A bird this spectacular shouldn't be hard to find, yet almost nobody ever sees it. It lives in the dark, damp understory of Borneo's forest, moving silently, stepping like it's afraid to disturb the air. Imagine a living rainbow, acting like a spy. The question naturally pops up in your mind. Why hide if you look like this? Why glow like fire, but move like smoke? That's the paradox that hooks everyone. Spend a moment watching one, and the mystery deepens. The pitta hops, not walks, not runs, hops as if testing the forest floor for secrets. It pauses, tilts its head, listens for a faint movement under leaves, then strikes. Beetles, worms, spiders. It hunts with clean, elegant precision. A tiny assassin wrapped in carnival colors. And here comes the twist that sparks intense debate online. Pittas are terrible flyers. Their wings look stunning, but they're built for short bursts, not distance. Some people argue they're flight lazy. Others say they don't need to fly because the forest floor is their kingdom. So what do you think? Lazy genius? Or confident ground dweller who refuses to flap unless absolutely necessary? Their call is another surprise. A rising, dreamy whistle that sounds like a distant flute echoing through the trees. It doesn't match their explosive appearance at all. You expect a laser blast, you get a lullaby. But here's the heartbreak. This bird is disappearing faster than almost any other pitta. Logging, plantations, poaching. Every decade, its world shrinks. The irony is brutal. The most beautiful creatures are often the most fragile. Yet when one steps into a beam of filtered sunlight, those golden bands ignite. Everything else, the danger, the shrinking forests, the silence, vanishes for a moment. So tell me, Is the lesser Bornean banded pitta beauty hiding in the shadows, or a neon protest against a fading forest? Hold that thought, because the next bird doesn't glow quietly. It arrives like a lightning bolt of blue. If the forest had a neon sign, it would be the Javan kingfisher. Blazing electric blue against the green, like someone turned the saturation up to illegal levels. This bird doesn't sit on a branch, it poses. Chest out, beak pointed like a dagger, eyes sharp enough to slice your confidence in half. And the moment sunlight hits those feathers, boom, instant shock value. You look at it and think, no way that's real. But there it is, hovering over a swamp like a flying gemstone with anger issues. This bird forces a question into your head almost immediately. How does something that's shiny survive in the wild without getting eaten in 5 minutes? And the answer is beautifully simple. The Javan kingfisher is fast, unfairly fast. It launches like a bullet toward its prey. Frogs, fish, insects, snapping them up before they even know the audition started. That massive orange beak, it's not decoration. It's a weapon engineered for speed kills. Then comes the mini twist. Unlike many kingfishers, this one doesn't need clean rivers or perfect lakes. It thrives in rice fields, ditches, swamps, even half-flooded farmland. While other birds complain about habitat loss, the Javan kingfisher looks at human-made puddles and goes, "Fine, I'll hunt here too." Adaptability wrapped in neon. And people debate this all the time. Is it thriving because it's a survivor, or because it's just too angry looking for predators to mess with? That stare has real intimidation energy. Go ahead, look at a close-up photo. Tell me it doesn't look like it's judging your entire life. But even tough birds have challenges. Java is crowded. Forests shrink every year. Wetlands disappear. And yet this kingfisher somehow carves out a living between chaos and concrete. When it finally perches on a lone branch over a muddy ditch, glowing like a misplaced LED light, you understand why photographers obsess over it. It's not just beautiful, it's defiant. And when it strikes the water, that flash of blue, that split-second disappearance, you feel like you witnessed something mythic. Not a bird, but a streak of living electricity. So tell me, is the Javan kingfisher Indonesia's most stylish hunter, or its most colorful attitude problem? Think on that, because the next bird doesn't flash neon. It glitters like a jewel carved by evolution itself. If Disney ever designed a bird and then said, "No, that's too unrealistic," the king bird of paradise would be the rejected sketch. This thing looks like evolution tried every idea at once and somehow made it all work. Fire-red body, bright white belly, tail wires ending in two perfect green discs that bounce behind it like tiny yo-yos. And the attitude? Off the charts. The king bird of paradise doesn't walk through the forest. It struts, like the whole canopy is its personal dance floor. Here's the thought that hits you instantly. How does a bird this tiny end up this dramatic? It's barely the size of your hand, yet it performs like it's headlining a Broadway show for an audience of exactly one, the female. Watch a male in display mode and you'll swear he's glitching. He hangs upside down from a branch, flips, vibrates, shivers his wings, and flashes those tail discs like a feathered disco ball. It's not a dance, it's an audition, and he's not going home without her number. Now here's the twist. The females, completely unimpressed 90% of the time, they sit there, stone-faced, while the male throws every move he has. Hours of cardio, zero encouragement. Sometimes she just leaves. Imagine doing an entire performance, and your audience walks out to get snacks. Brutal, but that's paradise bird dating for you. And here's the debate hook. Is this species a symbol of extreme beauty or extreme desperation? Viewers argue both sides, because the male's entire strategy is be so ridiculous she can't look away. Honestly, hard to blame him. It's a high-risk, high-reward lifestyle. But the king bird of paradise isn't all show. It's also a quiet forest dweller, feeding on fruits and insects, helping spread seeds across its tiny patch of lowland jungle. Every flash of red you catch between leaves might be the only one you see all year. They're surprisingly elusive when not performing. And yet, when they do step into sunlight, red ignites, green glows, white shines. For a moment you understand the name. Not prince, not duke, king. So tell me, is the king bird of paradise a masterpiece of nature or a tiny drama king hanging upside down for attention? Hold that thought, because the next bird doesn't flirt with color. It rewrites the rules of what color even means. If there were a no way that's real award for birds, Wilson's bird of paradise would win it every year without competition. This thing looks like evolution took a coffee break, came back wired with new ideas and said, all right, let's get weird. Neon turquoise crown, glowing yellow cape, velvet red body. And then, because why not, a pair of electric blue tail coils shaped like miniature question marks. It's the kind of bird that makes your brain ask, okay, who approved this? The moment you see a male clearing a dance floor on the forest floor, the questions start forming. Why is he sweeping leaves? Why is he arranging twigs? Why is he cleaning like he's preparing for a royal inspection? But this is Wilson's genius. The dance doesn't work unless the stage is spotless. Every leaf removed, every stick repositioned. The jungle becomes his theater, and he's the star. Then comes the performance. And trust me, nothing prepares you for it. The male lowers his head, flashes that neon crown like a living LED sign, spreads his cape, and hops around the female in tight circles at lightning speed. It's ridiculous. It's mesmerizing. It's kind of adorable. And here comes the twist. The female almost never gives a reaction. Nothing. Zero emotion. She watches him work harder than an Olympic gymnast and still looks bored. Debate time. Is she impossibly picky? Or is he just an overachiever trying too hard? Wilson's bird of paradise lives only on a few tiny Indonesian islands, which raises another question. How does a species this fantastically colored stay hidden for most of human history? Simple. It lives deep, deep in lowland rainforests, and it moves like a ghost when not performing. You don't see one unless it wants to be seen. And here's the fun fact that blows people's minds. That turquoise crown isn't feathers, it's bare skin. Pure color with no pigment. Light bends off it like metallic paint. No CGI, no filters. Just physics showing off. So tell me, is Wilson's bird of paradise nature's greatest fashion experiment? Or the ultimate look-at-me performer in the jungle spotlight? Think on it, because the next bird doesn't just display beauty, it turns the entire canopy into a stage for one of the most legendary dances on Earth. The first time you see a red bird of paradise, your brain hesitates, like it's buffering. Long crimson plumes bending like liquid silk, yellow and white shoulder fans that unfurl like living fire, and a body the color of molten amber. It looks less like a bird and more like a character that escaped from a myth the jungle hasn't written down yet. But here's the paradox that stops people mid-breath. How can something this flamboyant survive in a rainforest full of predators? Shouldn't it be the first thing spotted, chased, and eaten? Turns out, confidence is a survival strategy. Every dawn, males gather on towering branches, competing for the perfect display perch. And this is where the questions start building in your mind. Why do they dance so high above the ground? Why do they call, leap, twist, and hang upside down like caffeinated gymnasts? Because in the world of paradise birds, subtlety means failure. The females are watching, and they expect excellence. Then comes the fun twist. The display ritual isn't just about looking pretty. It's choreography, it's timing, it's physics. The male jumps, spreads his fans, freezes mid-motion, then swings forward with plumes trailing like long red flames. One tiny mistake, one bad angle, one sloppy hop, and the female simply flies off. No second chances. Brutal. Now let's stir the debate. Is the red bird of paradise performing one of evolution's greatest masterpieces? Or is this entire species powered by pure romantic desperation? You tell me. Researchers argue both sides passionately. Outside the dance floor, the bird is surprisingly calm. It feeds on fruits and insects, moves with slow elegance, almost shy when not performing. Sometimes you catch a male perched quietly, feathers dimmed by shade, looking nothing like the fiery acrobat he becomes at sunrise, almost as if he has two personalities, the artist and the introvert. And then there's the reality check. This spectacular creature lives only on a tiny handful of Raja Ampat Islands. One chain of forested ridges, that's the entire universe of this species. Logging, development, even careless tourism can fracture that world in an instant. Beauty this intense is always fragile, but when the sun hits its plumes and they ignite from red to gold, you understand why explorers wrote poems instead of field notes. So tell me, is the red bird of paradise nature's most dramatic performer, or just the warm-up act for something even stranger? Hold on to that thought, because the next bird doesn't just dance, it transforms the treetops into a glowing curtain of living color. There are birds that are beautiful, and then there are birds that look like they walk straight out of a royal painting. The lesser bird of paradise belongs to the second category. Golden head shining like polished metal, emerald green throat glowing like a jewel, long flowing flank plumes, creamy white fading into deep sunset yellow, trailing behind it like ribbons caught in slow motion. You see one, and your brain just whispers, this can't be real, right? But here's the paradox that grabs you. This species isn't lesser at all. In fact, the only thing lesser about it is how close humans usually get, because these males don't display on the forest floor. They take their show into the treetops, way up where the branches sway, where sunlight catches every feather just right. And that raises a question every viewer asks themselves. Why go that high if most predators can still see you? The answer's simple. Up there, he's on stage. At sunrise, the males gather on a lek, us in a kind of open-air dance studio, and the show begins. They hop, bow, flick their wings, fan their plumes, and swing upside down like pastel-colored acrobats, all while making these rapid, excited calls that sound like a bird trying to beatbox. And here comes the mini twist. The females sit silently nearby, judging every move with the emotional expression of a bored queen. One wrong note, one sloppy plume movement, and she just flies away. No applause, no sympathy. This is evolution's toughest talent show. Now for the debate hook. Is the lesser bird of paradise performing out of romantic determination or pure biological pressure? Does he dance because he wants to, or because fate demands perfection? People argue about this all the time, but when you see the intensity in his posture, the way he leans into the sunlight to ignite his plumage, it's hard not to believe he loves the spotlight. Outside of performance hours, these birds are surprisingly peaceful. They feed on fruits and insects, move gently through the canopy, sometimes sitting perfectly still with those extravagant plumes wrapped neatly around them, like a cloak. It almost feels like they're saving all their energy for sunrise, when the forest becomes a cathedral of color. So tell me, is the lesser bird of paradise proof that beauty is a survival strategy, or just nature showing off because it can? Keep that thought, because the next bird doesn't rely on color alone. It carries a pair of wings so strange, so iconic, they helped rewrite the history of natural discovery. There are birds that dance, and then there are birds that look like they were designed by someone who got bored halfway through and said, you know what? Let's add wings that don't actually flap. Welcome to Wallace's standard wing, the only bird in Indonesia wearing a pair of floating, silver-white banners that shoot straight out from its shoulders like superhero accessories. They don't help it fly. They don't help it balance. They exist purely for one reason: showing off. And here's the paradox that hits you immediately. For a species with such dramatic features, Wallace's standard wing spends most of its time completely invisible. It hides deep in the North Maluku forest, moving like a shadow with a metallic green body that disappears in the canopy. But the moment a female shows up, boom, transformation. The males gather before sunrise on what's basically a jungle dance platform. Then the performance begins. They leap straight up, wings spread, standards flaring outward, shimmering in the early light. They jump again, and again, and again. It's less like a dance and more like a bird performing vertical squats while screaming its resume into the air. And here's where the question forms in your mind. Why go through all this trouble just for one female's attention? The answer is simple. Because in paradise bird logic, the weirdest guy often wins. Now for the mini twist that always sparks debate. Those white standards aren't feathers. They're modified plumes, stiffened into smooth, paddle-like shapes that catch the sun like polished ivory. Some people say they look elegant. Others say they look like antennae from a sci-fi alien. So what's your take? Graceful or goofy genius? Comment sections have battled over this for years. Yet behind the theatrics, Wallace's standard wing carries a legacy bigger than itself. This was the bird that convinced Alfred Russel Wallace, co-discoverer of evolution, that Indonesia hid evolutionary forces entirely different from Darwin's world. One bird helped reshape scientific history. That's a flex no other performer in the forest can match. But here's the catch. Its habitat is shrinking. Logging chips away at the leks where these birds dance every morning. Lose the stage, lose the performance, lose the species. Beauty this strange is always fragile. Still, when the male leaps into the dawn, standards glowing, body shimmering like lacquered emerald, everything else falls away. It's one of nature's purest, strangest miracles. So tell me, is Wallace's standard wing evolution's boldest experiment, or proof that nature loves a good plot twist? Hold on to that thought, because the next bird doesn't dance for attention. It sings with a voice that sounds like it belongs in another universe. Some birds look magical. The curl-crested manucode, it sounds magical. Before you even see it, imagine you're walking through the Indonesian forest, and suddenly you hear a voice echoing through the canopy. A rising metallic, whoa! So strange you look around wondering if someone brought a sci-fi soundboard into the jungle. But no, that's the manucode announcing itself. A bird so elegant, it doesn't need color explosions or wild dance battles. It wins with mystery. And here's the paradox that hooks you instantly. Unlike most birds of paradise, which operate like feathery rock stars, the manucode looks almost understated. Dark iridescent plumage, glossy greens and purples that shift when the light hits just right. Curling feathers on its head that look like someone used a tiny curling iron. It's subtle, smooth, almost royal. So why does a bird this modest create a voice powerful enough to echo a kilometer through the trees? That question starts rattling around in your head. Is it trying to attract a mate, warn rivals? Or is it just flexing because it knows its voice is unforgettable? Here comes the twist. The manucode doesn't do elaborate dances or build fancy stages. It doesn't hang upside down or wave neon flags in the air. Instead, it pairs for life. A loyal, cooperative partnership. No display arenas, no feather fireworks, just a duet of weird, beautiful calls echoing through the rainforest. Lovers, singing across the treetops. Tell me that isn't poetic. Of course, the debate always erupts here. Which is more impressive, a dancer covered in flames and glitter, or a shadowy bird whose superpower is pure vocal energy? Comment sections get heated. Everyone picks a side. And honestly, there's no wrong answer. Spend a moment watching the manucode glide between branches, its feathers shifting from ink black to emerald sheen, and you realize something else. This bird isn't competing with the brighter, flashier species. It's operating in its own category. The mysterious royalty of the bird of paradise world. No theatrics required. But here's the thing people forget. Mysterious birds are often the first to disappear. Their forests shrink. Their calls fade. By the time we realize they're in danger, silence has already replaced their music. So tell me, is the curl-crested manucode proof that beauty doesn't need to shout? Or is it a reminder that even quiet wonders deserve attention? Hold that question. Because the next bird doesn't whisper from the shadows. It booms across the jungle like a living thunder drum. The great Argus doesn't enter the forest scene. It arrives, like a myth trying very hard to pretend it's just a bird. Imagine a creature the size of a small turkey, with tail feathers so long they look like rolling carpets, and wings covered in hypnotic eye spots arranged so perfectly you could swear someone 3D printed them. And yet, here's the paradox. All of this beauty stays hidden until the male decides it's time to perform. Most birds flash color. The Argus unveils an entire universe. Picture this: deep rainforest silence, then a rhythmic boom, 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 like distant drums. That's him clearing his stage. He kicks away leaves, opens a performance floor the size of a yoga mat, and waits. Every move is intentional, like a dancer rehearsing in the dark. And here's the question that instantly pops into your head. Why would a bird invest so much energy into creating a theater in the middle of a jungle full of predators? Because for the Argus, the show is everything. When a female finally approaches, the transformation hits full force. The male pivots, lifts one wing, and suddenly that single wing becomes a massive fan stretching taller than your entire upper body. Every eye spot arranged in spirals, gradients, patterns so precise you could spend hours tracing them. This isn't a wing, it's a mural. Now for the twist. Unlike most birds of paradise that flaunt color explosions, the Argus uses browns, golds, and muted shades. No neon, no bright reds. Yet it's far more mesmerizing. The eye spots shimmer with iridescence, shifting like liquid bronze. It's so perfect that naturalists once refused to believe evolution could create something this mathematically symmetrical. Debate time. Is this the most underrated display in the bird world, or the greatest? Comment wars welcome. But here's the part that gets emotional. The great Argus is a master of ritual, but its forests are vanishing. Logging, hunting, habitat fragmentation. Every year the stage gets smaller, and when the stage disappears, the dance disappears. Still, when you see a male mid-display, one wing raised, tail stretched like a flowing tapestry, the forest glowing around him, everything else goes silent. It's one of those, I can't believe this exists moments. So tell me, is the great Argus evolution's finest artwork, or a reminder that beauty this grand always walks the edge of extinction? Hold that thought, because the next bird doesn't rely on subtle elegance. It arrives with emerald fire and royal fury. If royalty ever needed a bird to make an entrance, the green peafowl would be the one strutting down the palace steps. This creature doesn't just walk, it glides, chest lifted, feathers shimmering like polished emerald metal. The first time you see one, your brain does a double take. Peafowl aren't supposed to look this intense. They're supposed to be soft, blue, tame, but not this one. The green peafowl looks like a warrior king carved from gemstone and sunlight. And here's the paradox you can't shake. Most showy birds rely on bright splashes of color. The green peafowl, it radiates deep greens, blues, and bronzes so shiny they look unreal, yet somehow blend perfectly into the forest. It shouldn't work, but it does. When it moves through the undergrowth, it becomes a shifting mosaic of light. Now you're asking yourself, how does something this outrageously beautiful avoid predators? Simple. It doesn't hide, it intimidates. A male will stand tall, stretch his neck, and let out a call so sharp and commanding that everything within earshot stops to reconsider its life choices. That voice, piercing, echoing, is half warning, half declaration. I'm here, deal with it. But of course, that's just the warm-up. Then comes the display. The tail fans open, not in the round classic peacock wheel, you know, but in a long dramatic sweep that ripples like armored silk. The eye spots catch the light, the greens go neon, the blues ignite. Suddenly the bird looks 3 times its size. And here's the twist. Unlike its Indian cousin, the green peafowl retains a fierce, wild posture even during display. It's not dancing, it's challenging. Are you honored or intimidated? Comment sections argue both. But beneath that royal attitude lies a harsh truth. This species is in freefall. Habitat loss, hunting, human pressure, everywhere across Southeast Asia, its kingdom is shrinking. The bird that once commanded entire landscapes now clings to isolated patches of forest, including Indonesia's last wild sanctuaries. Still, when you finally see one under the morning sun, feathers glowing, stance proud, eyes alert, you realize you're not looking at just a bird. You're looking at living royalty, a warrior wrapped in emerald flame. So tell me, is the green peafowl nature's fiercest monarch? Or the last guardian of a vanishing kingdom? Hold that thought, because the next bird doesn't simply rule the trees. It ends this entire journey with a tale from another dimension. There are beautiful birds. There are unbelievable birds. And then there is the ribbon-tailed astrapia, the species that makes you question whether evolution was showing off or just straight up trolling us. The first time you see one, your eyes go straight to the tail. Two white ribbons so long they look like they were stolen from a runway dress and glued onto a bird by a mischievous fashion designer. They glide behind the male like twin comets, shimmering, floating, bending in the air like slow-motion silk. And here's the paradox you can't escape. Those tail feathers are absurdly long, longer than the bird's entire body, which should make flying a disaster. Turbulence, branches, gravity. Everything should be trying to sabotage this bird. Yet the astrapia flies with shocking agility, weaving those tails through the forest like an aerial dancer avoiding invisible lasers. So of course your brain asks, how does something this impractical survive? The answer is fun and kind of ridiculous. Those ribbons are pure flex. The males grow them to signal strength. Look how big these are, and I can still fly. Impressed yet? It's basically nature's version of showing off a sports car, but fluffier. Then comes the twist. When it's display time, the male doesn't simply hop around or shake feathers. He springs into the air, twists, flips the ribbons in perfect arcs, and hangs upside down like a feathered gymnast. The ribbons sweep around him in glowing white curves, turning the entire performance into a moving sculpture. Females watch from the branches like art critics refusing to smile.
And this sparks the eternal debate. Is he performing a masterpiece, or just fighting with gravity for love? Outside the spotlight, the astrapia is surprisingly gentle. A soft, iridescent body, green, black, violet depending on the sun, and quiet, curious movements. It feeds on fruits, insects, and occasionally looks like it's pondering the meaning of life while its tail casually drapes several feet behind it. Even resting, it looks unreal. But don't let the beauty fool you. This bird is vulnerable. Habitat fragmentation and climate pressures chip away at its montane forests. A creature this extraordinary needs stability, altitude, and space. And the modern world doesn't always offer that. Every time an astrapia leaps through the mist with those impossible ribbons streaming behind it, you're seeing a miracle that shouldn't be taken for granted. So tell me, is the ribbon-tailed astrapia evolution's boldest flex, or proof that nature loves to end a show with maximum drama? Either way, what a finale. 17 birds, 17 worlds, and somehow they all fit inside one country. One chain of islands stretching across the equator like a necklace threaded with miracles. Indonesia isn't just a place on a map. It's a living archive of everything evolution ever dared to imagine. We saw dancers that defy gravity, hunters wrapped in neon light, ghosts hidden under rainforest shadows, and creatures so extravagant they looked handcrafted by myth. Some survived through brilliance, some survived through luck, others survived simply because the forest still whispers their names. But here's the truth that lingers after the last feather fades out of view. Beauty this rare doesn't last unless someone protects it. Unless we protect it. These birds don't know they're legendary. They don't know they're on the edge. They just live, fiercely, boldly, unapologetically, in the only homes they've ever known. So here's your part. Which one stayed with you? Which bird made you rewind, pause, stare, question, maybe even dream a little? Tell me in the comments, because stories like these don't survive in silence. And until the next journey, keep your eyes open. You never know what wings are waiting in the shadows, ready to rewrite what you think is possible.